Okay, this is page 93, 33 to 43, so your homework must have been 34 to 44 even. Here we go. That doesn't look right. Okay, so it was 33 said x is less than 4 or x is less than 5. So just put an, just put an or right there. There we go. So just to clarify, it said x is less than 4 or x is less than 5. So again, we're going to use our red and our blue. So we're going to draw our number line. So we're going to have 3, 4, and 5. So we're going to do red, open circle, and shade the way our arrow is going. Remember, now we use parentheses instead of open circles. Okay, parenthesis instead of open circles. Okay. So we're just going to, now it doesn't need, when we were talking about and, it had to be where the graphs overlapped. Now it's just going to be everywhere that there's a graph. So everywhere that there's a graph is, all of this is graphed. Everywhere that there's a graph. So we're going to say it's negative infinity, always a parenthesis, and it's going all the way to 5, right? To 5, and it has a parenthesis, so it's negative infinity to 5. Okay, this says x is less than or equal to 4, or x is greater than or equal to 1. That's what 35 says. So again, we're going to label red and blue. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excuse my nose, guys. I'm so sorry. My sinuses are just going crazy. So we're going to do close dot. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong color there. Let me try that again. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Let's try that again. We've got... Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. Alright, let's try that again. We've got x is less than or equal to 4. Or x is greater than or equal to 1. We're going to do red here and blue here. So we've got our number line. We've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to do red is here. And we are shading in this direction, our variables first. So we shade the way the arrow is pointed. And we're talking parentheses now. Oh, messed that up, didn't I? It should be a bracket, shouldn't it? Because it is a closed circle. See, my sinuses got me all crazy. It's a closed circle, right? So it should be a parenthesis. Now we're talking closed circle here. And we're going to shade the direction the arrow is pointing. Okay. So now remember, because it's or, we're just going to go ahead and talk about everywhere the graph is. Well, the graph is everywhere to the left, right? And everywhere to the right. So if the graph is everywhere to the left, it's negative infinity, which is a parenthesis. If it's everywhere to the right, it's positive infinity, which is a parenthesis. So our answer is negative infinity to positive infinity. And apparently our answer is in half blue and half black. Alright, number 37 says x is greater than 0 or x is less than 3. Okay, so again, we're going to use our labels, red and blue. So we've got 0, 1, 2, and 3. So red, we've got an open circle here, and we're shading the way the arrow is pointing because our variable's first. And then blue. Oh, and make sure you don't forget to do your parenthesis because we're doing new symbols now, right? Excuse me. And then open circle at 3 for blue, which is a parenthesis. We're going this way. Okay, so it looks like we've got another one that's covering the whole graph here. So look, whole graph to the left, everything's covered. If the whole graph is covered, it's negative infinity to positive infinity. Parentheses on both sides. Remember, or means Anything that's covered on the graph, we're going to go ahead and use. And means it has to be covered by both colors. All right, 39 says negative 2x is less than or equal to negative 4, or negative 20 is less than or equal to let's try that again. Okay, so here we've got negative 2x is less than or equal to negative 4, or 5x minus 20 is greater than or equal to 5. Okay, so again, we're going to color code, but we're going to have to do some math first. Okay, so over here, we're going to divide both sides by negative 2. If we divide by a negative, don't forget we flip the sign. So we end up with x is greater than or equal to, it was less than, now it's greater than or equal to, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, or over here we're going to add 20 to both sides, giving us 5x is greater than or equal to 25. Divide both sides by 5, you get x is greater than or equal to 5. Let's go ahead and graph it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, this is red, this is blue. So red is a closed circle here, shaded this way, shaded the way the arrow is pointing. And remember, it's a bracket. And then over here, closed circle, shaded the way the arrow is pointing, because the variable's first, and it's a bracket. So remember, we're talking about or. So it doesn't have to be where they overlap, it just has to be where the graph is. So the graph, any of the graph, is right here. So our graph starts at 2, and it's a bracket, because on our graph is a bracket, goes to infinity, which is always a parenthesis. Okay? So it's 2 to infinity. Okay, 41 says x plus 4 is less than 0, or 6x is greater than negative 12. So we're going to do some solving first. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, giving me x is less than negative 4. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys, my nose. Or divide both sides by 6. We don't flip the sign here because we're dividing by a positive number. You get x is greater than negative 2. So again, we're going to color code red and blue. So I have, here I'm going to go 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Notice I went in the opposite direction because we're talking about negative numbers. Alright. So with red, x is less than negative 4. Shade the direction of the arrow. Okay. Use your parenthesis because we're just talking about less than. Blue, x is greater than negative 2. Shade the way the arrow is because our variable's first. Now this is where our union symbol is going to come in. Now if this were an and problem, it would be no solution. But it's an or problem. So we're going to talk about anywhere where there is graph. So there's graph right here, right? So we're going to talk about that. It goes from negative infinity to negative 4. And then it also goes from negative 2 to positive infinity, right? So we do parenthesis negative 2 to positive infinity. We put the union symbol between them because that means that it is both of these, the graph is both of these intervals, okay? Negative infinity to negative 4, and then also negative 2 to infinity. Alright, and then 43, our last one here says we have 3 times the quantity x minus 1 is less than 12, or x plus 7 is greater than 10. Okay? So we're going to do a little bit of solving here. We're going to distribute the 3, which gives me 3x minus 3 is less than 12. We'll add 3 to both sides, giving us 3x is less than 15. Divide both sides by 3. We do not need to flip the sign because we're dividing by a positive number. This one's going to be our red. Then over here we're going to subtract 7 from both sides, giving us x is greater than 3. That one's going to be our blue. Remember, we're still talking about or. So it's going to be anywhere the graph touches. Oops. So let's go ahead and graph this baby. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At the 5, I've got an open circle shading the direction that the arrow is pointing because my variable's first. And it's a parenthesis because it's just less than. Blue, talking about open circle at 3, shading the way the arrow is pointing because my variable's first. And we change that open circle to a parenthesis. If this were an and, we would just be talking about this piece in the middle because that's where the overlap is. However, it's an or. So we're talking about anywhere the graph touches, which guess what? The graph touches everywhere. So this is another negative infinity to positive infinity one. The graph touches everywhere. And you're done. Congratulations. Have a great night. I will see you tomorrow.